And the winner is Summer of Soul, when the revolution could not be televised. Ahmir, Thompson.
I'm in a constant state of creativity. There's probably a blurred line in terms of feeling what it felt like to win an Oscar for Summer of Soul, but also subsequently working on my second, third, and fourth film at the same time. I think if you're in my shoes, the best thing is to be just present. That's how I like to work, no matter what the challenge is. Nothing's too big for me or too overwhelming, so I'm always creating. I'm Ahmir Questlove Thompson, and this is the Storytellers Spotlight.
Do you believe in the concept of black genius?
Black genius?
Wow.
Guys and girls and black and white. So you get all that input.
They sounded like nothing else sounds. Everybody wanted him
to bring people together.
The world's watching you, analyzing you.
You might be moving up too fast. Yeah.
Sly was kind of the first black artist to go through that so publicly.
The anxiety, the pressure, the drug use. He was an underdog. You are exceptionally gifted. But at the same time, none of that protects you.
If you're Sly Stone, there is no blueprint for what comes next.
You know, I love working with the people of Onyx because it's rare, especially in this business in which you get to meet people that really just understand the subtext and explaining what I want to create. There's a constant motion of, we understand. Like, you know, when a person does this to you, that means like, say less. I get you. And that's the comfort I feel in these particular stories that I'm telling, because even though I'm speaking from an entertainment standpoint, there is a teachable lesson in all the projects that I do. And this movie, Sly Lives, is no exception.
Multiple generations of creators have been influenced by Sly Stone, by his fearlessness, by his insouciance, by his struggles with himself.
I felt it was important to tell his story because Sly is right at the Mason-Dixon line in between what was pre-civil rights and post-civil rights. The fact that he assembled a multiracial, intersectional, mixed band of all people from all different backgrounds, that's an act of harmony, but it's also an act of rebellion. You know, he was a provocateur and a provider. My entry to Sly Stone's music is probably one of the most unorthodox entries ever. For most people, they don't think about this, but music is really just a Polaroid. Music is a snapshot, a timestamp of where you are at that moment. You know a song is classic if you remember where you were the very first time you heard it. My first memory in life is laying on the living room of my childhood home, like just screaming in pain. I was getting my hair washed and my sister accidentally spilled some detergent, and you know, the powder of the cleanser hits the tub, and of course a cloud of smoke comes up, and I'm 2 years old and I don't know better than to have my eyes closed while my hair is getting washed. My aunt and my sister are pinning me down like a wrestler, like their knees are on my hands. And my father and mother, my father is forcing my eyelids open so that they can flush my eyes out. Like the only thing that I see is on the stereo is Sly Stone's Just Like a Baby's playing. And I see the American flag cover of There's a Riot Going On. And somehow just that very sinister bass line is playing while this like, it has haunted me for so long. Even in using that song as my closing credits wasn't a mistake, because that I have such an odd relationship with that song. It's my first memory in life.
We got to live together. I am no better, and neither are you. We are the same, whatever we do.
If you just break it down by melody, you would swear that his music is akin to almost like nursery rhyme, childhood melodies. But rhythmically speaking, is some of the most aggressive, danceable funk that American society has yet to know. Probably the first album I gravitated towards, like from start to finish, constantly on repeat, was the Greatest Hits compilation that Epic Sony put together to cash in on Sly's victorious run at Woodstock. You know, he gained a whole new fan base, and so they put a Greatest Hits compilation for the 3 albums that he released before Woodstock, and really it's one of the greatest party albums ever. It was just one of those records that was played from start to finish, and no matter what function you lived in the 70s.
What effect did it have on you?
Wow, it was a little too big. It was almost too big to happen. You know, I thought we would happen, but at the time it was almost too much all at once.
Sly's story will also wind up subsequently being everyone's story in Black entertainment. Success is often an unspoken burden. Often I'm asked, you know, why does this person always show up late? Why does this person always kick the can down the road and stalls their album for 5 years? Why is this person always mired in trouble? Why is this person in jail? Why is this person dead? Why do we self-soothe? I want to later rest the notion of the troubled artist. You know, the idea of like, oh, they're just a drug addict and they had everything and then they lost it because they chose drugs. They didn't choose drugs. They don't know how to express the turmoil and the pain in their rearview mirror in present times. I wanted to just sort of peel back the layers and really present a human story about his experience, because, you know, oftentimes we're not even seen as human beings. So maintaining humanity is, to me, the most important part of artistic presentation, and this is what this film explores.
This is kind of a serious question, kind of a silly question at the same time. Could I dress like this and play with your group?
Any way you like.
Wouldn't it look funny, though? I mean, to see somebody dressed with a tie.
Would people that were judging the way you were dressing?
Yeah. There'd probably be a certain pressure on me, I suppose, to...
There's a pressure on all of us.
When the Sly Lives project came into our possession, I initially thought, like Summer of Soul, this is going to be like a very joyful process, and, you know, all the good music that's come from it and all the, you know, things we're going to discover, and the fashion and the wigs and like all the fun things. And then by day one, the interviews, I realized what this is about to be. And, you know, a lot of my subjects in this film have not gone to therapy. And they're in their 70s. So this is the first time that they're being asked, how do you feel? A band member shared, you know, a rather disparaging story about getting pulled over by the police. And when they're describing to me what's happening to Sly, it's one of the most horrific things I ever heard in my life. And I said, well, you know, what happened after that? And they just shrugged it off like, well, you know, then, you know, we got back on the bus and then we headed to Cleveland and did a show. And I was like, whoa, but, you know, guns were in people's temple and they're like, how did you guys feel? Were you traumatized? And when you're living in fight or flight, you can't take time out to recollect what just happened to you. So people often bury feelings until they get consumed. And that's what I realized on day one, that even I had to ramp up the hours with my own therapist. I prioritized self-care in a way that I didn't know that I would have to once this whole process was finished.
Do you think that you were judged too harshly because you were a trailblazer?
No, not at all. I think you deserve everything. We deserve everything we get in this life.
In doing this documentary, we started to realize that Sly has a really, really good relationship with irony. Musician Vernon Reid has a really beautiful take on the song Hot Fun in the Summertime and Sly's use of irony. And he says that Sly is the master of painting surrealistic pictures. And he's like, Sly's basically painting a picture of a summer day that we've never, ever get to experience. I mean, they're talking about like, you know, cookouts and county fairs and the country sun and everything's awesome. And it's like nobody was experiencing that in Vietnam era, post-King assassination, post-Kennedy assassination, you know, post-Malcolm X assassination. Like, we were at our darkest period in American society. And like, my assumption is that Sly used joy as an act of rebellion, ironic joy as that act of rebellion. You know, maybe from his point of view, you had to present a smile to keep from crying, a defiant smile. And that's what his music represents. You need to express and let those emotions out. So for me, I'm just about planting seeds, and this is just part of my harvest. And Sly Stone is such a genius that even his life is as influential as his art was.
Don't hate the black, don't hate the white. If you get bitten, just hate the bite.
Oftentimes, I'm in the passenger seat of unknown artist to my left that's behind the steering wheel. And if I see them starting to self-sabotage their progress, and sometimes people don't want to get all deep or all therapeutic, you know, especially when we're in the studio creating. It's like, no, let's just make music. This film is my version of this to my entire peer group. But also, I want to plant seeds in other people's minds as well. The importance of history, the importance of expressing emotions, the importance of joy.